Hey there, my name's Katya.
And I'm Varya.
And we are teachers here at the Big Apple School. So Varya, what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about major changes in life.
Yes. So let's get started by talking what is a major change in life? What can fall under this category?
Births, deaths.
From the beginning till the end. I love it.
Yeah.
So marriage, what else?
Career changes, job changes, moving, relocating, deciding whether or not you're going to go to college or not.
That is also true. Yeah. I want to say it used to be not that big of a change because let's say here in Russia, people didn't have any choice.
Right.
It's like you had it. School, university, job, retirement, death.
In my day, not everyone went to college. So I went to college a lot later in life. It wasn't expected of us.
And was that treated fine? Like, was that perceived as okay when people in the...
Yeah, it was really nothing. But then as life went on, you realize, you've got to keep up. And so I made sure my daughter went to college. Yeah.
This is something I love about the US, because in there, people would not look down on you if you're getting your first degree in your 30s, 40s, 50s. Whereas in Russia, it's like you go to university, it's kids in their like late teen years, early 20s. That's it.
Yeah, that's who I studied with. So the younger ones, the first year. And then as it progressed, they kind of fell by the wayside. And then I had a little bit older people, maybe only 20 years younger than me. But no, I will say there were people older than me as well. Yeah, so that was nice.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, and then some other changes. I had something in mind. What was it? You think of something.
Well, in general, I was going to ask you what major changes in life did you have to have? So getting a degree.
Buying a car. That was the other thing. Buying a car.
You would call it as a major change.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You have to know how to do that.
Isn't that something that goes without saying in the US?
Well, yeah, you have to have a car, but it's a major change. When you get your driver's license, I was 16. You get the radio, the car.
I have a feeling like this is how it goes in the US, what is it, like high school, you're 16, you get your driver's license and you get your first car.
Yeah,
it's not the case here. So that's why it was always interesting because we got this from movies, American movies were like, oh, how come that they have a car? They're so young and they go to school by car. How is it possible?
Right, yeah. That was major thing. Getting your first car. You have to take responsibility in paying for it. And then, of course, that road trip.
Right, all the maintenance, gas, and so on.
So expensive.
I remember we had a video with Ur about road trips, and we discussed how it seems to be some sort of initiation process for people in the US. When you get your first car, you have to have some sort of a road trip with your friends. You just go.
It is really an American lifestyle. Still is, I think. Nothing is better than driving on PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, with the Pacific Ocean on one side, the mountains on the other side.
Aww.
You got, whatever you want in the tape player, radio.
This is the dream.
That's freedom.
To have this sort of adventure when you're young,
Yeah.
So what about other changes that you've had, the big changes? So what about career? So this is like a milestone in our life. How did you get to that?
Yeah. It was major to change from a ballet teaching career to an English teaching career.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I'm glad I made the change. I'm very glad.
Were you scared?
No, it's through osmosis. It just really happened. It's through gradual.
How did you get into ballet teaching though?
It wasn't until I was 30 years old. So I had all the experience. And, I wanted a job that I could take my baby to. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when she was like 2 years old, I would bring her and then there'd be someone who wanted to play with her or something.
Aww.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave her at home.
I can imagine.
Well, I was a single mother. I couldn't leave her at home. It wouldn't have been nice.
Well,
she was only 2. Yeah.
This is like a violation. All the laws. That's good you didn't.
Yeah. So she saw me teaching and she was active in my career. She wanted to be a teacher. And
is she a teacher?
No, she wanted to when she was 3. By the time she was 12, she goes, no, I hate ballet and I don't want to be a teacher and I hate kids.
I'm warning you now, boy. Any funny business, any at all.
It's interesting how you said that one of the major changes in life is, major decisions maybe is education and getting a degree. And in Russia, what is interesting is that it's not getting a degree that is considered to be like a big decision in life, but rather choosing a major. Because in the US, what I absolutely love is that your first year, you're just kind of, getting used to the way things are. And then in your second year, you choose your major. I love it so much because in Russia, you have to choose your major before you even apply. And when you apply, you're 16, 17. You have to make a major decision. And then you're a 17-year-old teenager, and you think, my major is going to be this or that. And then your first year, your second year at university, you realize that, hey, it's not really my thing. And what to do? And then you have to make a big decision to go on and do something you have no intention to do in your life, to just waste 2 more years, let's say 3 more years, or to start anew, just to drop out of college, start anew, apply to university, and start from the very beginning.
A waste of time. And we're supposed to have guidance counselors. They're not always so good, but I did have one. It was later in my college career where he said, if you get a master's, you could teach college. And I thought, that would be something I really wanted to do. And so that was kind of like a driving force to get a master's. And so I did teach the first year.
Aww.
Yeah, the first term was really difficult. And I thought, oh no, what did I get myself into? I felt sort of like a fraud. And then the second one was much better.
What do you call these people? Guidance?
Counselors. What do we call them? Advisors. In college, they're called advisors. Yeah.
We have them here in Russia at schools. Not really helpful. Absolutely
I know, not really.
They do this tests. And then what exactly can a test say? They say, you have these skills. Like you could make a good accountant. I don't want to do that. So thank you for your help.
Yeah.
Which there was
exactly.
none of.
You're left in the dark. You don't know what to do. No one can advise you. And you're stupid. You're young and stupid. Yeah.
That's what we are when we graduate from school.
Yeah.
Well, talking about major changes, relocation is usually considered a major change in life. And how did you find the courage because you've lived in different countries?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about what gives someone courage. But first I want to ask you, do you know the difference between bravery and courage? Because
I always thought that they're kind of interchangeable, no?
Yeah, we use them interchangeably, but there is a slight difference.
Which is?
So bravery is something that is spontaneous and you have no fear. And oftentimes the example is a soldier. He's trained or she's trained. She goes in, she's has to be ready. And maybe he's looking for glory, to be a hero, or maybe has some kind of idealism. And that's without fear.
That's bravery.
Yeah, that's bravery. Being courageous is with fear, but you're still going to act. You act with fear, which means that planning is involved. So it takes a little bit longer. Yeah. So I was thinking about the major things that have helped me in making major changes. And one is, I think the number one thing is balancing out, weighing out what do you fear more? Do you fear more staying in the place you are? Or do you fear more leaving? And oftentimes, what are the reasons why we leave a place?
To have sometimes it's for a better life, different life, or because we're sick and tired of the place that we're at and we understand there'll be no development whatsoever if we stay.
That's the point.
I'm sick and tired of always being sick and tired.
But if that's okay with you, that's fine. Stay.
Well, we're all different.
Yeah. But if you say, no, I can't do this anymore, then you get that courage to make plans and say, you just imagined your life somewhere else. So that's really major, the weighing. The other is, I call this the art of pondering. How are you going to weigh these things unless you take time to think, to ponder on things?
Ooh,
right?
I love it.
A lot of us don't want to detach ourselves from digital devices. People are bored if they're by themselves or they're afraid of their thoughts. And that's the thing. And I love that. I love being by myself. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love what you said about courage. That courage goes kind of hand in hand with fear.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that people forget, that relocation, this immigration, relocation, moving, it always will go hand in hand with fear. Moving is scary, and that's fine. Like, yes, you will have to deal with finding a job. You will have no friends at first, nobody And yeah, of course it's challenging, but in the end, it's very often worth it, But what things should we keep in mind before relocating, before moving
Well,
to
with
a
the
new country?
planning, you've got to see, with your art of pondering that you are developing, you've got to see what you really want.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe old dreams have kind of gotten stuck in the corner and you might want to dust those out. And I think the fear of failure is ridiculous because that's subjective, or what is it? Objective or subjective? I don't know.
Subjective, if it's something that
Yes,
you
I guess so. Inside, or objective, because some people will look at you and judge you, right? Because we think what is successful and what is failure.
Yeah.
But I think that if you try your very hardest and you do as much as you can, what else?
In this case, I love a phrase that I use as my motto, which is a quote by Terry Pratchett, which is, going back to where you started is not the same as never leaving. So, and I always think, okay, if I go and I fail and maybe something happens and I'll have to go back, it's not the same as never leaving in the first place. So,
We have a saying, you never can go back home.
meaning...
Yeah, meaning keep on going. Things change. You can't ever go back home. Things change so much.
That makes it more scary.
I guess so. And if you don't have a mommy to go home to, it is extra scary.
That's true.
Yeah. Everyone should have a mommy to go home to.
So speaking of moving, like getting back to the question, like when you're planning this, so what kind of things should you keep in mind when you plan to move? So what did you keep in mind when you were coming to Russia or to one of those?
Yeah, the goals that I've had for a long time, those things are really important. What is the driving force?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to get out of it? Maybe you want nothing but just an experience. Maybe that's fine, because a lot of people like to travel and just meet experiences.
Would you have any sort of tips or advice to those who are contemplating relocating but kind of scared or don't know where to start?
Yeah, I think sometimes outer forces put guilt on us. And so maybe parents say, don't leave home, don't do this, or your family or religion or a government or whatever, some outer force. And you've just got to understand that you don't owe anyone anything, and you need to be free. I can remember the moment that I decided never to feel guilty again, to be guilt-free. I was 21. I was in New York City in some little flat. I was staying with a friend's house, hot in July. I was writing in my journal, and I realized that a lot of my suffering was feeling guilty about being here or doing what I wanted to do. I'm 21. And so I said, never again. I, henceforth, will never feel guilty again.
I have a question. Were there people, when you made a decision to go to Russia, to move to Russia, I can imagine how huge this decision seemed to you and to other people. Were there people that tried to talk you out of it?
Oh,
like, don't go. Oh my God, what are you doing?
Yes, exactly. I have a very dear friend of whom I've known for like 30 years. She goes, oh no, if you need help, you could stay in my house. What are you going to do? And it's the whole thing about Siberia. Where is that? It's far flung, and where prisons, gulags are. Yeah.
I feel like this is difficult sometimes to deal with these comments, to deal with other people telling you, no, don't go.
Yeah, it's irritating in the least. It's irritating, but I'm guilt-free, so I can do what I want to do.
I would also say, that what can be useful is doing your research about the place that you're going to. Like, what are the rules of behavior? What are the laws? Maybe because sometimes we can break the law just, out of ignorance. Without knowing what is allowed and not allowed. So yeah, doing some research might be helpful. Nowadays, in the time of technology, I know that a lot of people before relocating, they find different chats. They get in touch with people who had already done what they are planning to do. So they ask them for some advice, tips, and this way when they come, they already have somebody to turn to, in case of need, in case they need help and so on. And I think YouTube, you can see so many videos of people traveling. Absolutely.
This is what this place looks like.
And you kind of, when you go, you're like, you feel like you know the place at least a little bit. It's not completely new,
Yeah.
strange. Do you have any plans on your next relocation? Have you thought about that?
Yes, I have thought, and it's a work in progress.
Mhm.
Moving parts have to come together, and that's a major thing about planning is that you have to be very patient because you don't want to make a stupid mistake.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
mistakes are going to be
That's
made
true.
anyway, and so you have to be very patient. Just wait, and then when the time comes, you pounce.
Mhm.
And it was something my daughter always noticed about me was I have excellent timing. I just have this excellent timing. And
That's one of your talents.
yes, it's one of my talents that she thought that she inherited too. Because I think I'm developing good timing. So yeah, that is. And I think a question that I've asked myself since I was in my 20s was, do you trust yourself? Do you trust yourself to make decisions? And what about you? In your 20s, did you feel like you could trust yourself?
Depends. Normally, I would say no. Although, sometimes there are moments when you're so confident in yourself, like, oh, I can do whatever I feel to, like I can reach my goals, fulfill everything I've planned. But then sometimes you act stupidly, sometimes you act spontaneously, and then you have to start over. And so
Yeah,
on.
you just define bravery. That you
That's
have confidence. You have confidence, and you're spontaneous. But
With
then,
no prior planning.
Yeah, so you've got a plan. Yeah. So in my 20s, I did shiver in my boots too. I thought, oh, I'm not sure about myself. Ooh, I better ask this person, that person. It took a while, but I trust myself more than anybody.
Mhm.
And I think when you said some people do read blogs or go ahead, and I find that maybe that's helpful because I've done that before, but then I don't like their prejudices. That's their thing. And I
so
just
you might get that from another
Yeah.
person, and you need to make your own judgment.
Yeah,
make
I really
your
do.
own-
Well,
Okay.
listen to what I say, what I want to do, and not let other people influence me.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's just the independence I have.
That's a good thing to keep in mind, I would say.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, another major change in life is changing your career like you did. So would you have some advice for people who are contemplating changing careers but are too afraid to do that? Maybe some steps that they might take.
Yeah, still, it goes back to developing the art of pondering, and you've got to go deep inside. What's down in your heart, the essence of your being, and what do you really want?
Mhm.
And so
Well, sometimes it's hard to understand,
That's the thing, because I have that experience with my daughter, because with her, she saw my passion for one thing, and she goes, but I'm not like you. I don't have that.
Mhm.
And that's when I said, it's okay to have other things. It's okay to change careers, change jobs. It's okay to change. It's okay to piece things together.
I feel like nowadays is a bit easier than it used to be. So, because nowadays we are not made, we're not forced to have one job and one career for the whole life. And I can see people in their 40s, 50s, 60s just saying, you know what? Yeah, I've worked this many years, on this job. Why? I can change it. And now people understand that they have the liberty. They can do it. And I love it so much.
Well, I saw that in this generation gap because my mom, poor little skinny woman, she was taking care of us. She was so fearful of losing her job. And so she worked so hard at this one job, and everything was just for that job. And I watched that decade after decade. And I can't be like that. And oftentimes I'll laugh because when I do my life, I think, oh, my mom would say, no, don't do that. Be careful. You don't have enough security. But I think she'd be proud anyway.
Of course.
But it's a different life, yeah.
I feel like this is what our parents' generation as well say. When you say, oh, I'm thinking about changing my career. And they're like, no, but right now you have a job, you have security you
is
have
what?
money.
Yeah.
So why would you do that? But, well, how do you understand, though, that your job is the right one, that this is your calling?
Yeah, it's just, you have to think about it. You can't just be distracted with all these digital devices and not think and be too scared, because people are just too scared. I just go back to this. I mean, you've got to take the time. What do I like to do? What do I want to do? And then do it. And we've had this discussion before, could it turn into a hobby, and can that your hobby turn into your profession? And you don't have to do something at a professional level to enjoy it. But I think that's really important. And that's what I told my daughter. I said, do what you want to do.
Well, I think that no matter what we talk, no matter what changes we talk about, it always comes down to this. Think about it deep, ask yourself questions, don't get distracted, Actually, if you want to listen to some other stories and other hosts sharing their experience, we actually have a great episode of the podcast. I don't remember if you were on this podcast. I unfortunately have not, which is called How to Find Your Way in Life. So choosing the right profession. So I wish I had been on that podcast.
I think I was involved in that one, or something similar to that. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're interested in the topic, make sure to check this out. And if we talk about changes, all these changing career, changing, maybe getting out of relationship, whatever, you name it. Very often, these changes are accompanied by regrets. So do you have any regrets about any major?
No, because in my 20s, I made the decision to bang my head against a brick wall. And if it doesn't move, then that means that's time to move on and don't look back. And so I just never would want to regret anything in my life. And so I kept that. But in thinking about it, yes, I have had one major regret, but it involved a decision for someone else. And so I've always felt bad about it. But then if you think and ponder on it, you will find a little path that led to something good. And you think, okay, I know if I could go back, I would have changed that, and maybe it would have been better. But this thing would not have happened had I done that. So, what is it? What do we say? The lesser of two evils? Pick one. Pick one of them.
I prefer to believe and say that whatever happens for the best, So especially if you start thinking back, like all these ifs. If I hadn't done that, but then you think, okay, if I hadn't done that, A wouldn't have happened. But if A hadn't happened, B wouldn't have happened. So when you start making this sort of chain reaction and you understand, like, no, I did what was needed. I did everything right.
Yes. Well, the Stoics, the ancient Greeks, said something about that, but they said it differently. They said, things happen as they happen, but be glad that they happened that way.
Yeah.
Meaning just accept it, and that's it. And not that there's a reason for it, but just that it happened that way.
Absolutely. So that's why, when people have regrets, and it's totally fine to have regrets, but we should just think of what would have happened otherwise, because it's not always for, things would have been different for the better. You never know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a story about regret that never happened, but something else happened, but I'll tell you. This was when I was training with someone, and after a year, he gave me an evaluation, and he said, you are major company material, this is in ballet, major company material, but you lack experience. So I recommend that you go to Europe and hop around and audition to opera companies, because opera theater employs ballet dancers in their operas. And I thought, okay, that's wonderful. And I left, and I thought, I don't have that. I can't do that. I don't have that stuff. I cannot leave San Francisco, fly to Europe and get off and what? Germany? Where? Italy? And then go into each theater and say, can I audition? I didn't have the stuff. And I never regretted that. I never felt, because I realized I didn't have what it took to do that. That was fine. I moved on. But then a few years later, I was pondering, and I was thinking about him, and I thought, I'm in LA, and Mexico City is pretty close. So I hopped on an airplane, and I flew down to Mexico City, and I got a taxi to the building of the ballet company, and I got to the door, and there was a sign in Spanish that said, in Spanish, it said something like, company closed, we're on tour. And I thought, oh, wow, I just flew all the way down here to audition. So I just walked around Mexico City for a few hours and then just took another flight back to home.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It's really, I've never told that story to anyone except for this is the
exclusive.
premiere. Yeah, exclusive. Yeah. And my friend didn't believe that I went to Mexico City. So I made sure I bought a souvenir. She said, yes, I really was. But so, of course, I still didn't regret it because once I felt silly, I really did feel relieved because I really didn't want to do that. And that's how things are.
This is one more thing. Sometimes when you want something really bad, but then it doesn't happen, your first reaction, initial reaction is disappointment. You're like, oh no, I wish it had happened. But then, given it some time, you understand, no, it's good that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I am grateful it didn't.
Yeah.
Because then you understand all the advantages of that not happening. That's so true.
Yeah. And I guess worrying has something to do with it too, because often we, generally speaking, worry way too much. We worry about things that will never happen. Of course, we have to plan ahead, but to worry and then let this keep you up all night. Oh yes, I'm guilty of that. Yeah, I will worry way too much. And then I have to remind myself, stop it. This is not getting you anywhere.
That's true. I used to have, maybe not to regret, but I used to be disappointed. So, because at some moment I was thinking about applying to universities for a PhD. So I thought, why not get a PhD? This is something I would like to do. And then I applied because I understood that I would never be able to finance it myself, given the price of education and so on. So I applied for some scholarships and grants. And I thought, I have some chance. But then I did not get the grant. I did not get a scholarship. And at first I was so disappointed. I thought, okay, I'm going to try it next year and so on and so forth. But then sometime later I understood, you know what? That was for the better.
Oh,
that was for the better.
Isn't it nice that you followed your intuition or things happened as they happened? And now you could be glad that they happened that way.
You know what? I would also like to ask our viewers, if you have had any situations when you had some regrets and then you understood that you shouldn't have regretted that in the first place. Have you ever had some sort of major changes in life that you would maybe like to share with us? Feel free to. We're always eager to listen to your stories, to read about your stories, and so on.
And we won't tell anyone.
We won't. We're good at keeping secrets, So, Varya, that was really interesting to listen to your stories and to discuss the topic. And I would like to remind again our viewers about our wonderful website, which is bigappleschool.com, where you can find different videos, articles, podcasts, you name it. So not the video podcast, but the audio podcasts, So, and all these tools can help you boost your English and make your English learning fun, make your English journey more fun, And about this video, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss out new videos. So that was Katya.
And Varya.
Stay tuned.